Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers, sisters, viewers and friends. Vikra TV, welcome to part 2 of this program looking at education and particularly focusing on one particular individual who has become a very sort of role model for many people, and that is Mrs. Mahmood, who's the head teacher of Carlton Junior School in Dewsbury, which was a failing school, nearly was closed down, and she became the head teacher of that school in 2014 and has transformed it from where it was to now one of the best schools in the region, if not in the country, and has been awarded an MBE for the hard work she's put in. It's now become a teaching school, and it's now become one of those magnets where people want to come. But much more importantly, it's a school where local parents who previously did not want to send their children to that school are now queuing up to go into that school and get their children registered into that school as well. So there's been a phenomenal change that has taken place, and we've been talking about some of the challenges she has been facing and what led her into education as well. I want to change the focus to the role of the parents, because any educational institution can only be as successful as the parents and the partnership between the parents and the school, and how strong that is as well. Now, over the years, we've seen that parents have changed. Obviously, we're now seeing that many parents, as Mr. Mahmood said, that there is a very clear distinction that there are some parents who really want to see their children excel in school, and there are others who don't really bother about whether they excel or not. So, Mr. Mahmood, I mean, you talked about, you can see that the difference between some parents. Now, yours is a very sort of predominantly a Muslim school. So your children who come in at the age of 5 up to the age of 11 are predominantly from the Muslim community. Yeah. And Islam is, the area that you're in it's quite an orthodox community as well.
It is.
So how do you balance between the orthodox community that you serve and some of the issues that, in schools that you face? And particularly, we'll come back to that, but the role of the parents, how important is that to you as teachers working within the school and your colleagues?
The role of the parents is pivotal in a child's success. And we see that, on a termly basis, on an annual basis, and on a daily basis. You can tell with a child's engagement where the parent engages positively with the school and is conscientious and worried about their child's performance, their well-being. You can see the progress not only in their academic, not only in the academic side of things, but you can also see the development as a person, because they are much more at ease in school, they're relaxed, they're socially able, and they go on to be very successful. And then the flip side of that is that where parents don't engage, where they don't, and we have some parents who say, well, it's only primary school, they're not doing their GCSEs, but this is where we set the foundations. And I learned that in my career. I didn't realise how important the early years foundation is. And as we know that the Princess of Wales is doing a lot of work around early years as well, it is absolutely the crucial stage, and that's where we want the parents to engage. And simply by asking the children, how was your day at school? Or simply turning up and spending an hour reading with them in school, or just engaging and listening to the teachers, working in partnership with the teachers, and understanding that our goal is the same as theirs, to make sure that their child is happy, looked after, safe and educated. And we see that on a daily basis, that those that engage with the school, those children go on to do better.
Right. Do you feel that parents now have a better understanding of their role and responsibility in actually working in the home with their children as well, to give them that little bit of extra support?
Yes,
is that something that you see?
Yes, we do. We do have, the vast majority. We know that. We know where they, and we can, as I say, they reap the rewards with the children. We can see that filters through in the school. And it's such a joy working with those parents as well. And we have some wonderful parents who are always willing to help the school as well. We have a PTFA, a very active PTFA.
So Parent Teacher Association.
Yes, yes, and we local charities, local businesses who work with the school as well, and all for the development of these children. And as they say, it takes a whole village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And so that partnership is crucial.
Obviously, we're living in some very difficult and challenging times as well. And I heard this yesterday on the radio, that there are some parents where, because of the situation at home, the economic situation at home, and some teachers were saying that, we have children coming into school not having a proper meal, not having good clothing on them. And in fact, one school was saying that they've had to install washing machines because they're coming in with dirty clothes, so wearing dirty clothes, so they're washing them for them as well.
Yes.
Do you have similar challenges in your school as well?
I installed a washing machine 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
In my school.
Good gracious.
So yeah, we've been doing this for a very long time. We provide breakfast, toast for children every morning.
Wow.
We have a breakfast club, and now we've even applied for.
Do you find that Asian Muslim children are coming through school in those situations as well?
There are some.
You're joking?
Unfortunately, there are some.
And
I sometimes I don't think, I mean, when I've looked into some situations, it's not necessarily that they can't, they just won't, and it's okay for the child to say, well, no, I don't want breakfast, and they're in school, and that's not good enough.
Right.
And I think, as we said earlier, that...
So the children who are not having the breakfast, the parents are trying, are they?
Yeah.
Or is it because, I mean, what I heard yesterday, the parents don't have the wherewithal, economically, to provide a good quality breakfast. And the breakfast for any child, anybody, is considered to be the most important meal of the day.
Absolutely.
To give those children the boost that they need in the morning.
Yeah. It is impacting some of our families. I mean, I say some because we don't know how many are coming, whether an accurate number of families are coming through to school to say, look, I'm struggling. And we do have families where we do provide food parcels, and for Ramadan, for Eid, for Christmas. We do have such families. Without divulging too much, they know there's a privacy between them. So they come to us and we arrange those things for them. There are some families but not many come forward. There's the South Asian pride, and not many will come forward and say, look, I'm struggling. It takes a lot for them to say. So often we discover this through other circumstances that they are struggling, but we're there to help.
And have you ever approached some of the local sort of mosque and institutions for support to try and help these families?
So I have had a few meetings with some of the local mosques, and they're also doing some wonderful work, and we have had them in. They've done assemblies, but I didn't know about other things. It was just we've talked about doing joint projects.
Right.
Only yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues as a young gentleman that I've just taken on in a support role, and he happens to be one of the imams at one of the local mosques as well, and he does Arabic in Braille. And
mashallah.
So I said to him, do you know what? So I earlier had a grandparent saying to me, look, he won't go to mosque, he's scared of mosque, and I tried to get him into one and he was thrown out, and I just can't get him to. So I'm thinking online, and I said, well, would you consider something on a smaller scale in school if we could offer that? Because I was thinking about this young man, and she said, oh my God, I think parents will bite your hands off for that. Now, I don't want to take any work away, but I understand that there's quite a large number of children who are not going to the madrasas and are sitting at home online and are not learning the quality that they get at the madrasas. So that is something that we're considering.
So it's like a supplementary school to the school itself.
Yes. Right. So I asked this young man to check with his head teacher at the mosque, and he said, well, there are pros and cons. So I'm going to consider this, working in partnership with them. To get these.
Because the nearest mosque to you is the Ilahi Masjid in Hope Street,
yes,
isn't
it is, and we've got the Mahmoudia as well, and we're actually the entire radius of the school is madrasas.
Right.
We've got
There's
some
quite a
down
few.
the road and some up further up as well.
Yes, you have. Well, I mean, the principal of the Ilahi Mosque on Hope Street, he's also the chaplain at the hospital as well. Maulana Ilyas Dalal, he's a very wonderful guy.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll be willing to support. And actually, you've just raised something else. I mean, we as a Muslim community are required, in fact, it's incumbent on us to pay zakat. And I'm sure all my viewers will pay their zakat every year without fail. Now, for all these years, we've been sending our zakat back home to India, Pakistan, Africa in my case, as well as India, Pakistan, and other parts of the world. But what we don't realize is that there are families now in this country who are absolutely entitled to zakat because of the economic situation they've found themselves in. And I know in my town, we have set up a special fund where only zakat is collected and that is distributed to local people. And when I first asked why, that time, it was a few years ago, I was told that there were a lot of reverts, people who had become Muslims, came back into Islam, who'd been thrown out by their families, so their family didn't want to know them. They were not really adopted by our Muslim families, and they were lost and they had no economic support. And these were the people that this particular fund was supporting. But now I know for a fact there are a number of single parents, for example, families have broken down for whatever reason, where mothers with small children are struggling as well. So there is a genuine need to look at this whole structure of where we give our zakat. And I say to everybody, if you're giving £100 in zakat to abroad, then I would suggest to you that you take £10 out of that, or even £15, and you pay that zakat locally, because there are parents and there are families, and sometimes not single parents, there are actually families where they're struggling because the economic sort of crisis that we're going through, the bills, the energy cost, etc., the food cost, is beyond their means. So I would urge you to consider that as one of the options that when you look forward. Coming back to parents, obviously in my days, when I went to school or madrasa, and if the teacher or the ustad disciplined me, I wouldn't dare go home and tell my parents. Because if I got a slap in the madrasa and I went home and told my dad, he'd slap me again and say, you must have done something silly and stupid for the ustad to hit you or the teacher to discipline you. Now, obviously we've seen a slight change in the generation. Is this something that is affecting you as well, that where parents, if you have to take certain actions in school, that the parents are actually not accepting your decisions or decisions of your colleagues and challenging you? Is that something that is happening on a regular basis, or is that something that is a concern to you? Yes,
and unfortunately there's an increasing number of parental complaints, and I speak for the rest of my head teacher colleagues as well.
Right.
And unfortunately I think that there seems to be a sense of entitlement, very different to the previous generations. I mean, we still, to be fair, we still have positive parents like that who, who say what you've just alluded to earlier. Parents who say this is your teacher and this is how it is. Unfortunately, those few that we have, what they're actually doing is, I think this message needs to go out loud and clear, is making a rod for their own back. Because what's happening is when you are modelling in front of a child that you are
that type
with
of
a teacher,
behaviour,
yes, that kind of behaviour, the child is absorbing that, and that becomes part of their personality, and it's perpetual. The behaviour, the attitude is perpetual. Unfortunately, it keeps happening, and we can't do anything to help. In my school, we're lucky; we have very few. You've been to my school. We hardly have any behaviour issues, but we do get the odd complaint over trivial issues. That are magnified, and there's absolutely no need, because it's stressing the teachers out, and all they're trying to do is educate and support your child. And we often find that we're doing the work of the parent, in providing moral lessons to these children and just basic etiquettes, and then that work is undone at home, and the children tell us so, and it's unfortunate. And I think that that there's a lot of learning to be done in this community about the role of the parent.
I think that is a very important point. I mean, if the parents behave in the home in a way where the etiquettes are not there, the discipline of the house, the way you talk to your partner, for example, your husband or your wife, and that reflects on the child as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And the behaviour between parents themselves.
Yes.
If the atmosphere in the home is not a conducive atmosphere, then I suppose that sort of is absorbed to the child as well.
Yes.
And that is something that I think a lot of parents need to be mindful of. You may not consciously be doing it. You know, you may be unconscious, but you do realize if you have a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old child in your home, that will have an impact on that child, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, coming back, I mean, your school obviously, mashallah, is a very successful school, and you know, you've turned it around in the 10 years you've been there, because you've been there 10 years now, Vaz.
Yeah,
2014, yeah.
Yes, just
10 years, yeah. Now, obviously, you know, as I say, as a result of the transformation that you and your colleagues have brought in, you know, you now have a long waiting list of people wanting to come to the school, whereas 10 years ago they didn't want anything to do with it. Where do you see your school in the next 5 years? What would you like to see? What would like happen?
Well, we seem to have reached the pinnacle of where we should be as a maintained school, and I think unfortunately we can't divorce ourselves from the political landscape. So it really all depends on what this government's plans are, and you know how the future of our school will be shaped politically, because you know I've no intention of becoming an academy, because I don't need to. You know, there's innovation in my school. We're a leader in education, so why the need? So it really depends on where.
Would you like to see more places being created for more?
Now, these are kind of conversations that professionals have had with me. How about a through school? How about a nursery?
What is a through school?
So a through school is where we would have the secondary merge into a secondary, become a secondary. So, you know, I've got children asking me, because, you know, that this is something that, you know, has not really been acknowledged. Children are so scared of that transition from year 6 to year 7, because secondary schools are bigger places.
Much bigger. Yeah.
And it's a different style of teaching. And I'm married to a secondary school teacher, and I know they're a different breed, with no offence, but they're a different breed. It's a busier life. They don't have the time for that nurture and care. And you know, children have said to me, Miss, can't we have year 7 here? You were talking about it. I would really want to stay here, because that thought of going to this secondary school, the bigger place, the busier place, they often, sadly, slip through the net.
In America and Canada, they have a longer sort of junior school period, don't they?
Do they? Right.
I think they do. I think they transition at the age of 13 or something like that. You know, I'm not sure.
Well,
somebody will ring and probably correct me.
We used to have the middle schools,
yes.
You know, and I think that was a brilliant system, actually, the 3-tier system, until we went 2-tier.
Right,
some children are just not ready for it. But you know, we do have through schools in Kirklees as well. I know there are some academies.
Okay.
So,
I mean, what are the challenges for yourself as a professional and your colleagues, other than, you know, help support from the parents? Financially, obviously, we have massive issues across the whole of the country.
Yes.
And every school is going through some really difficult challenges at the moment because of the financial cutbacks. What are the implications for you if there's no more funding coming into your school?
We won't be able to provide the opportunities, you know, the resources and funding. Paying for quality staff, because as staff become more and more experienced, they become more expensive. So, you know, retaining staff. We are quite a business-minded school, so we do generate income. We have funding days. I've only just converted a horse carriage into a little fast food place.
Oh, right.
And so hopefully that will be up and running soon.
So when is that available to who? And
we're hoping, well, we're going to start off with the community, and then we have been considering probably looking into a trader's license, and the University of Bradford we've discussed with them. There's a project called BRE, and it's looking at enterprise, bringing in enterprise into schools, and we're already on with it, so that's something that we're going to pursue.
So you're not only a teacher as a professional, but you're now going into business as well. How do you cope with that? I mean, it's a different mindset, I presume.
It's, you know, you just default into all these different levels, and it's such a versatile job. None of this is written in my contract.
I'm sure.
You know, some days I'm a caretaker, some days I'm a cleaner, sometimes I'm a dinner lady, and like you say, some days, you know, it's business, it's networking, and it's a versatile role. and you do what you've got to do to bring better opportunities for the children and the communities that they live in. And I'll continue to do that.
So when the food cart is ready, let me know.
I will let you know.
I'll probably come and buy something.
We'll probably invite you to lunch.
Oh, no. I'm at the moment, after 45 years of dieting, I'm now starting a 46th year of diet. How successful that'll be, I've got no idea. But I mean, obviously, what you do is phenomenally important to the well-being of not just individuals, but communities and the nation as well.
Yes.
You know, and we live in an amazingly wonderful country, as Georgia Sahab said. You know, we have a lot of opportunities. Yes. Although we've gone through challenges, and there's still some challenges there. Now, if you were to say in 15 seconds, if any of your parents are listening, what would you say to them?
I would say to the parents that you need to be authentic with us, be yourselves with us. You know, we're not going to knock you for that. We want to see who you are. We want to work with you. The whole point is that one end goal, to care and educate your child.
Excellent. I mean, those are really words of real wisdom there. And remember that the partnership between the teacher and the parent is absolutely vital. And as I said at the beginning of the program, the Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, said that education is a fundamental principle and a key thing that every Muslim, every human being should be learning. And if you have to travel all the way to China to try and get educated, then you should do so as well. So this is a vital relationship between people like Mrs. Mahmood and you as parents and everybody else. So I hope what you've heard today is inspired you, given you some thought. Inshallah, I'll see you next week. As I said, next week is going to be a program on assisted dying, the new proposal that has been put forward to try and help people die who are dying 6 months, life-limiting time. And this is a massive issue that the Muslim community is going to be challenged with. So please join me. Mufti Zubair will be here with Ishaq Ahmed. Inshallah, I'll see you soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.